Strangers by Taichi Yamada. Translated by Wayne Lammers. Chapter 12. My strength came back to me in about an hour. I could feel the life flowing back into my limbs, surging like a rising tide to the tips of my fingers and toes. Soon I felt so full of vigor it hardly seemed possible I'd been too weak to stand only a short while before. I opened my eyes and slowly turned my gaze to my hands. When I had apprehensively done the same a while ago, I had found ashen skin stretched grotesquely over little more than blood vessels and bones, but this time I discovered my normal fleshy hands. With that, a new burst of energy surged through me, and I could no longer hold still. I gently lifted myself to a sitting position. "What is it?" Kay asked, her voice tender with concern. "It's really weird," I said. "I suddenly feel normal again." "Do I still look as bad as before?" Kay nodded. "I sure don't feel that way anymore. I feel like leaping to my feet and dancing around the room." Her eyes filled with horror. And I immediately understood. The ghost of a man sitting before her now was in no condition to kick up his heels and dance except by some supernatural power that came from the world to which my mother and father belonged. "Can I do anything for you?" Kay said, a mournful plea in her eyes. "I'd like you to stay with me if I don't give you the creeps." "How can you say such a thing?" "Sorry." She was right, of course. After she'd clung to me and prayed for me, after she'd lain with me through my prostration, I'd treated her like a stranger. Yet it seemed impossible that anyone could feel comfortable being with the wasted, pale as death specter of a man I'd seen reflected in the mirror, let alone hold him in her arms. Especially a man who was 15 time-ravaged years older to begin with. Had I been in her place, I'd probably have let out a blood-curdling screech and fled for dear life. Seeing how deeply she had come to care for me, not over years or even months, but on the basis of a few nights, was a sharp rebuke to me. I had been wrong about people. About women, too. "Thank you," I said. But I could not bring myself to look at her. I would have liked to give her my most grateful smile and throw my arms around her, but I knew that bending my ghostly lips would serve only to magnify the ghoulishness of my appearance. "I'm getting hungry," I said. "I'll make something." She rose to her feet and went into the kitchen. I now felt so full of energy again that I wanted to pitch in, but I decided it was probably better if she had some time to herself. By the time we finished lunch and lingered briefly over a cup of coffee, it was after 2. We had spent the entire time talking about other matters. Kay had always imagined that television writers had a wild social life. I told her that some did, but that for the most part the task of writing demanded long stretches of solitude. I described for her a short story by Paul Thoreau about the social lives of writers in London that quite comically reveals how very alone and isolated each of them is in spite of all their carousing. For my part, I wasn't at all inclined to ridicule a writer's isolation. Nor did I suffer from being alone. "Really?" Kay asked. "I still want you with me," I hastily added. "Your being here has been a terrific help." But inwardly, I had to admit that her question had touched a nerve. Perhaps I wasn't as comfortable with my solitude as I liked to think. Perhaps I had wanted to be on my own again purely to escape the shackles of wife and child, and now that I'd actually regained my independence, I was discovering that I wasn't really so independent after all. I had not consciously felt lonely, but it may well have been my own subconscious loneliness that had summoned my mother and father back into this life from the world of the dead. Our coffee cups were empty when the conversation finally turned back to them. Kay fell silent. And so did I. The entire time we'd been talking of other things, I'd been wondering what to do. Suddenly from the street came the long, loud screech of a panic-stricken driver slamming on his brakes. Anticipating the crash, I instinctively turned toward the window. Kay did the same. But no crash came, only the usual din of traffic, thundering on and on. Tonight, I said, "Yes, I need to go to Asakusa one more time. It could kill you. I'll die anyway at this rate." "Do you really think so? You say these hands of mine are like skin and bones, but that's not what my eyes tell me. I can't just decide not to see my parents again and expect that to be the end of it. But maybe you should give it some time. Maybe their power over you will diminish, and then maybe it can be the end of it. That feels wrong somehow. It might leave them in limbo, keep them from crossing peacefully back to the other side. That's what I'm worried about. I don't want it to end with me simply abandoning them. They're good folks. They've been sucking the lifeblood out of you. I don't think they ever meant to. I think that's just what intercourse between our different worlds does to you. My parents probably don't have any idea I'm dying. They probably can't see me wasting away any more than I can. In fact, I'm sure of it. Otherwise, they'd have said something by now. You're so understanding." She did not intend it in a good way. Quite uncharacteristically, she was being sarcastic. I said, "I hope you won't think I'm a hopeless case, but..." "What?" "I have to go to Asakusa one last time, precisely because I think you and I have got something going and I value it." "And how does your dying help us?" "I can't very well go to the police for something like this. But how about a priest, maybe a shaman? This is my parents we're talking about. I'm not going to pay an exorcist to get rid of them." "You're being too idealistic. Real families aren't that pretty, you know. I lost my parents when I was 12. Excuse me if my view is rosy. Give me a day. I'll get some advice." "Where?" "I haven't decided. The church. Wherever. I'm sure of it." "Sure of what?" "That they'll understand." "No, that's what you hope. Are you really willing to stake your life on nothing more?" "Don't worry. I'll be fine. I'll be back by 10 or 11. Kay stood up. "At least give me until 4 o'clock. "No. 3:30 then." It touched me how desperately she wanted to help. "Don't go anywhere until 3:30, okay? Promise me that." She ran for the door. "Promise me you won't go anywhere." The heavy door swung open and then shut again. To Kay, my parents were vengeful spirits to be shunned at all costs. Knowing that she regarded them that way saddened me, and I felt sorry for my parents. Who'd side with them if I didn't? I strode to the window. Kay would be emerging soon. At this moment, the elevator was probably still on its way up. Or perhaps it had just now reached my floor and slid open. Yes, now she would be stepping into it. The doors close. The elevator begins its descent. Suddenly, Kay rushed out from the building much sooner than I expected. Wearing only her long, white house dress and a pair of slip-on sandals, she ran onto the street. The slightness of her shoulders remained with me after she disappeared from view. I may never see her again, I thought, then slowly turned toward the door.